On Thursday night, after we got the kids to bed, Becca and I were lying in bed, just sighing that deep sigh of relief that comes after the lovable craziness that is our life with kids. They were asleep. All the parenting things that should have been done had been done. The feeding, the bathing, the loving, the reading, the praying, the picking up. All of these were done. And now we could just lay down and relax. Now, after nearly 15 years of marriage, I should have noticed that I have noticed that my wife is weird. She has things about her that I am only now discovering, like she doesn't like me to lay on her pillow at all. I can tell she loves me by how she tolerates it, because now that I know this, I like to see how much I can get away with. Maybe it's my pillow on hers. She notices. My hand slightly on her pillow. She notices. My head mostly on my pillow, but a little bit on hers. She notices. I swear that if I breathe on her pillow, she notices it. She is very observant and she likes her own space. So on Thursday, we are both tired, and so I get dressed for bed and I let her finish reading or doing work or whatever she is doing. All I know is she has the light on and something in front of her. So I lay down, and I noticed that my pillow is not as comfy as I would like it, so I attempt to adjust it. I move and try to slowly fix it, but it won't move. Okay, maybe I'm just laying on it, and so I kind of flop my body to scoop down, and I try to move it again, and nothing happens. So maybe I'm just trying to adjust the wrong pillow, so I grab my pillow and sit up to see what it is that I'm indeed messing with, only to see that I still have resistance. And I follow my pillow to see what is going on, and then I kind of trace it up, and I see this little wry, devious smile looking back at me. She is using my pillow. I looked over, I'm like, what the heck? And then we laughed for an inordinate amount of time. I randomly picked up an audiobook on storytelling last week, and I was listening to it on Friday while I was working out. The author was talking about how to find the story of each day and how to capture it. As he was giving examples, I got to thinking, I've never really examined why I married my wife. I just knew. And when I know, I act. So I did. And I'm sure I had to tell Dean Reed why I wanted to marry Becca when we were going through premarital counseling, but I cannot remember my reasoning. I just knew. So I really probably just said whatever I needed to make that happen. But now, almost 15 years later, I know, and it hit me as I was on the treadmill at Anytime Fitness on Thursday. She just gets me. I also happen to be working on my sermon prep on Thursday. It is entirely fitting that Jesus performs his first sign at a marriage feast. Jesus has been a sign of God's love. A marriage has been a sign of God's love for his people all throughout the Bible. It is there at the beginning when Eve is brought out of Adam, and when he wakes up, he says, "At last this is bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh." And the two became one flesh. Marriage is also at the end of the Bible. The last thing we see is the bridegroom saying to the bride, "Come," as they go together to the marriage feast. Marriage is a sign of the covenant relationship God has with his people. And here at the marriage feast, we have Jesus. A marriage where the wine runs out. When the wine failed, it says, the mother of Jesus looked at him and says, "They have no wine." This is a travesty for those throwing the marriage feast. Now people will begin to wander away. Wine allows a freedom to the feast as it loosens everyone up and allows the laughter to come more easily. This could simply be a matter-of-fact detail to John telling Jesus' story. But that would not serve John's purposes. Local flavor has little point for John. John seeks to examine things on a more deeply, and so he uses symbolism. The wine has run dry on the marriage of God and humanity. Humanity has lost her desire for her spouse. The joy has run out. All it is work and rules and punishment for wrongdoing. Upon hearing his mother's statement of fact, Jesus replies, "O woman, what have you to do with me?" A seeming heartless rebuke, but again, John isn't operating that way. Woman, "O woman," was also the name that Adam gave to Eve. John is drawing us all the way back to the first marriage, and through that leading us to the marriage between God and humanity. He says, "O woman, what have you to do with me?" The wine has failed because we failed. The joy of the marriage feast has failed, and we have no wine. Then Mary replies with the words Eve should have told her husband, "Do whatever he tells you." Jesus being God, the he here is God. Do whatever God tells you. The exact words she should have said to Adam. Then we get the 6 stone jars for ritual purity. These were indeed there in the corner, but John points them out and their use to encompass all of Jewish religion. The Jewish religion was about how to be right with God and how to get right with God once we have fallen. Jesus tells them to fill the jars, and at his command they are filled, and then Jesus does what they could not do on their own. He restores the wine. This is why it is the first of his signs, because it points to what he will ultimately do to restore the joy of the marriage between God and humanity. His hour had not yet come to do this. This is why this is only the first of his signs, but it points to what he has come to do, to restore his bride. Often in marriage, we can take the other person for granted, slowly drifting away until there's nothing left. The same thing happens over and over in the Bible in our relationship with God. But God comes and shows us that he is always willing to strengthen the marriage, always willing to provide the wine, to provide what is lacking if we will first pour into the jar and do whatever he tells you. And when the jar is filled to the top and the joy is filled to the brim, then we can see what is always there, that deep love represented in the covenant marriage between God and humanity. That love comes with the realization that you have found the person who gets you, the perfect spouse that fills you. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the